We must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
What we do not do is spy unlawfully on Americans.
We are leaving in 2014, period. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
America's public enemy number one in the United States is drug abuse. In order to fight and defeat this enemy, it is necessary to wage a new all-out offensive.
You are listening to Biting the Bullet with Luke and Typo.
See?
Dude, I don't know why this week has felt like a long week. Probably because I didn't have internet for like 4 days. But
yeah, well, and dude, the fucking guy at the gas station when I was trying to buy my alcohol for today, was like, he's like, I see you're at the good part of the week, and I was like, yeah. And I was like, it's been a long week. He's like, that's how they always are after, holiday weekends. And I was like, that's very true, because you get like a short week the week before, and then you get the holiday. And you kind of don't do shit, and then your first week back feels like a fucking drag.
Yeah, and these holidays, these are like the lazy holidays.
Yeah,
like these ones, you don't really do anything. You just go to your families and hang out and sit around and bullshit. Like you don't, like for Fourth of July, you'd maybe go see fireworks or go to the bar or whatever. But these ones,
you go hang out somewhere on Sunday and fucking get hammered and play games and. But yeah, these ones you eat a shit ton of food and don't do anything.
Yeah,
and I still get hammered. So
I saw a meme, and it was, what did it say? It said, is everyone ready to get back to work on Monday? And then someone commented, he's like, man, I don't even know what I do anymore. It's like, dude, that's what it kind of feels like. You just don't really. That's how it kind of was in the Marine Corps, dude. Because when you had those 96s, there's like that split moment where you're like, I'm not in the military anymore. Yeah. And then Sunday or whatever day you're going back, and it all comes back.
It's just long enough to make you think that you're not in the military, like just barely long enough.
Yeah.
And you're like, because the weekend's not long enough. The weekend's not long enough. But when you get that 3-4 day weekend.
Yeah, just long enough so you can pretend you're not, and you can live in a little fantasy that you're not for like just a little longer.
Yeah, dude. It's so, and then going back is the fucking worst, because it's like we were talking in the last episode. You have 2 weeks of like really not doing shit, and then you get like even on Thursdays after Thanksgiving holiday, you're still not really doing a lot. But dude, after the 96 from New Year's, when you come back from that, it's like everything goes back into full swing and you're fucked. And you're just like way behind because you're like you haven't been doing shit for a month and a half. Yeah, I'm glad I don't do that anymore. It's kind of just get back into the swing of things. I think I had like a 70-hour work week this week, so that sucked dick. And I just haven't, I don't know if I think we've talked about this before, but have you just felt like shit is off, like shit is just off. Like it really feels like living in parallel land. Like like something's not right. And it's just kind of hanging over everything.
Yeah. I try to cause I don't know, I guess we're still kind of young. Like we're in our 20s, and like, I don't know what would be considered older age at this day, but like, things just, I really just feel like things are just different now. And like, maybe because we are normal and want to get back to like before 2019 times where this shit is just not lingering everywhere, that we still kind of like hold on to like, we're going to get back there one day. And it's like, man, what if things just never go back? Like, it's just always like this.
I mean, it's partly that, and it's just partly like something feels like it's just like a constant feeling of foreshadowing, like something's going something's happening and you don't know. It's like, it's everything with the Ghislaine Maxwell trial, not being talked about. It's the fucking weirdness of the Twitter timeline when everybody's arguing about, all the libertarians and anarchists are arguing about homeless and sex workers and how to use cops like to, get the libertarian society. I don't know, like everything just feels off. And this week it was weird for me. I just think it was a weird week, and it felt worse this week. I didn't sleep well. My girlfriend didn't sleep well. Like, we didn't sleep well at all. I just feel out of it and off because I don't know if it's because it's the second holiday, the second big holiday, Halloween or Christmas and Thanksgiving are like the big holidays, in my opinion, or the big holidays. And so maybe it's the second year of the holidays being the way that it is. And it just threw me for a loop. Everybody's a little weird. Everybody's not quite doing the same things. And maybe it is because I want it to go back to before and I can just bitch about, the war in Iraq and Afghanistan and call the US government tyrannical, but they're not doing anything quite tyrannical enough that makes people up in arms. And right now I feel
it's like visible.
It's very visible and people still aren't getting it. And that's worrisome. And, and there's just a lot of shit going on constantly. It's one thing after the other. It hasn't slowed down.
Yeah. I think a couple things on that. I think so as this like liberty movement grows or whatever, I think the infighting's only going to get worse. I don't think and that might be a good thing, as in it's a sign that our movement's getting bigger. So there's more people. So there's obviously more voices and different opinions or whatever. But at the same time, it's fucking annoying.
It is. So, well, it's like we go through a growing pain process where all of a sudden a shit ton more people come through. And then we have to argue about this shit that like everybody else has already settled on just so we can get them up to speed.
Yeah. And I think there's like, there's like real issues going on today. Yeah. And, we're not going to, I don't think, we can preach to the world about, our Ancapistan or libertarian ideas, but I mean, we're probably not going to get exactly what we want right away. And I think a lot of people want to settle for easy solutions, even if that means going through government departments or whatever.
I honestly think the government route is the easiest route. All these people are talking. Sure. Yeah, I think all these people are that. That's the weird thing right now. There's a lot of fucking libertarian heads, talking heads that are talking right now about what's the best way we can get to where we want to go, and they're talking about efficiency, and they always say the same things that are the typical if it wasn't hard, everybody would do it kind of thing. And then those are the same ones that are like, we got to be joining the GOP because it's easier for us to win those. And it's like, well, I'm kind of confused. Are we doing the hard thing because it's the right thing, and the harder it is, the more well worth it it's going to be? Or are we doing the easy thing because we want immediate results, even though we sacrifice some, I guess, principle? That's some people's argument, which I don't really know. I think we've argued back and forth on it quite a few times, but I'm just saying the GOP, I think this is a big thing to bring up. The GOP fucking helped vote in that CDC expansion bill. I mean, fuck, what was it? 80 something Republicans. Yeah, they're doing great. They're against COVID, guys. The GOP is against COVID as they vote to expand the CDC and I think Homeland Security's budget to help enforce. Maybe it wasn't Homeland Security, but I know it was CDC and something else for vaccines and something else, like 80 fucking GOP senators. That's fucking.
Yeah, I think Dan Crenshaw was one of them. I saw.
Well, I mean, he's a fucking bitch. Anyways, we've talked shit about him for a while now.
Yeah, I mean, he is like he is like the ideal controlled opposition.
Oh,
like
yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
idea, because he fits all the wickets for what a lot of conservative people value. Like he's a Navy SEAL. He goes after the left for their craziness, but at the same time, he compromises. And I mean, on like all the most important issues, he
Oh,
fucking
yeah.
compromises on.
Oh, yeah.
And I think, but I think that's like I think a lot of people don't like I think a lot of even like Republicans are actually really upset with the Republican Party as well.
Yeah.
And that's like, I don't know what it's worth, but it just really seems like, because I mean, there's just really not a lot of pushback besides like, I don't know, maybe like Rand Paul and Thomas Massey, like actually pushing back. And
Right.
then, I mean, but there's always like the talking heads that get, like Ted Cruz will go on about how he's against this and that. And then,
Yeah.
he does some shady shit behind scenes or whatever. And I honestly do think there is a lot of people kind of awakening to stuff like that. And I think there is more pushback within like local levels, but we're just not seeing it a lot. And it's kind of hard to see. Did you see what was it, that city in California?
No.
They declared themselves a
Oh,
constitutional
yeah.
republic.
I think it was Orange County, wasn't it?
Oroville. It's I
Was it
might be
Oroville?
saying it's just a city. I'm pretty sure it's a relatively small city in California, but they're just like, yeah, we're not doing that. And then a bunch of like blue check mark California lefties were fucking pissed. And
City of
basically,
Orville.
yeah, and basically, like I mean, this is Twitter, but I saw some of them like, oh, I would take the city of or the U.S. federal or the U.S. military over the city of Oroville's police department. I was like, oh my god, dude, they already think that like they're going to war.
Yeah. Well, and I've been saying this for a while now. I wish they would. I want them to be openly tyrannical. I want them to be, because at this point, it's the only way people are going to wake up. Because I was explaining this to my mom the other day. I was like, libertarians have gotten a lot of shit for equating what's going on to Nazi Germany, at least saying that it's following in the steps of the same thing. And then I was like, and then Germany this past fucking weekend decided that they were going to roll out mandatory vaccinations, that they have a right to tell you whatever medical procedure they want to give you. And they can use the cops to enforce it. I was like, they just proved the point. They just proved the point. And people were like, oh, it won't happen in the United States. And I'm like, what are you talking about? We're the biggest empire of all. We will definitely do that. We're just slowly roasting the pot right now. And I mean, I just don't see how that's not the inevitable idea. Like, that's where it's going. That's where it's been heading this whole time. It's gotten progressively worse. The United States president and sitting members of Congress and the House, or sitting members of Congress in general, so the Senate and the House, have openly said reject the courts that are pushing or stopping the OSHA's mandates. They said openly to reject them, that they don't matter, that those courts aren't going to do anything. So one body, we talk about checks and balances, and there's two bodies that are basically checkmating one body, and the whole thing is just fucking wild. And that's what I'm saying. It gets worse and worse every day. And I want them to be openly tyrannical because people aren't getting it. I want them to go door to door and try to force people to get vaccinated. And I think that's the only way at this point to get people to see, because they won't see it now. And eventually they will do it. But at that point, there'd be already a shit ton of people that are saying the same thing that they are now, which is, well, it's not that bad. I didn't die. So just get it so we can get back to normal. And it's like, we're not getting back to fucking normal. I don't fucking care what you're saying. We're not getting back to normal. Do you feel how the world feels right now? I just think these people are so out of touch with reality that they've created this little cocoon that they can feel warm and fuzzy inside of. And it looks, I'm basically explaining the Matrix right now, and it's fucking with my head.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know if they could get away with like military enforcement. I think us being as big as we are
No,
actually
I
gives
don't
us
think
that
they will.
advantage.
I don't think they can.
Oh.
That's why I want them to do it.
Oh yeah. And like, so like, we base like the fucking like CIA knows a lot. Like,
Yes.
like if you look at like MLK and his like movement or whatever, and his whole idea was to dress very well dressed, march in the street peacefully, and even when they attack you, you resist and basically let them beat the shit out of you. And that kind of worked in the sense that you just got a bunch of images of peaceful people being like sprayed with hoses and dogs going after them. And even if you are like a racist, when you're looking at that, you're like, well, I don't want that to happen. Like,
Right.
it's kind of shocking.
Like, this looks bad.
Yeah. So this is kind of like the reason I think they know that they can't be openly like straight up violent. I think
agree.
that's why they go through other ways. And that's why, like, I think there's a pretty good possibility that these intelligence agencies and like provoke these riots and provoke like January 6th type things to happen, because they know what that imagery looks to the American people. Like, when people are violent, no matter what side it is, they lose a lot of support, and it's easy for them to get away with shit. Like, now they can like deem Trump and all that as domestic terrorism and stuff. Yeah. And that's, I think, and then maybe I think the internet kind of plays on our side with that too, because now everyone has a phone. So I don't even think it's like they have to use violence anymore. I think it's the control of ideas. And that's where, and that, like you said, like, people are living in these cocoons, and they've created these fucking cocoons, and it's like information warfare, but it's like, and we're just, people like us are trying to figure out how to navigate through it and convince people like, this is bad. Like, this is really, really bad. Like, I don't think you understand how dangerous this stuff is. This is not something that you just play around with. This is not like, oh, the government's, and then you look like, well, this is one thing too, because they created these cocoons. So a lot of people, because now a lot of people know about like Australia, because that one's like the worst out of all the countries. I mean, dude, the fucking, like, they literally have concentration camps.
Yeah.
Like,
and they're voluntary concentration camps that people are avidly trying to escape. Dude,
yeah,
I want to like,
it's just obvious.
I think those three, you saw that story where the three people like got out? Like, they didn't know who it was. And I still don't know if they know who it was. I don't know if it's been said, but they thought it was the Aborigine people that they had put in the concentration camps to quarantine them so that they don't get sick. They think it, like, at first that was the first reports. I don't know if that's true now. I mean, you guys can fucking go and check me on that. But it's like, oh, the people that are supposed to live out in the fucking middle of nowhere by themselves don't want to be locked up in this first world concentration camp, this first world quarantine camp that they are being forced into, but you're saying it's voluntary, even though it's a bad thing that they got out by themselves and just decided not to be there anymore. Like, what the fuck? Like, these people are so ass backwards. And then you got people that are acting like, that are saying, your freedom to get sick doesn't violates my freedom of safety. And it's like, I didn't know freedom of safety was a thing. I didn't know you had a freedom to be safe. Like, that's not a fucking freedom. And it's not I haven't seen one good argument saying how accidentally getting somebody sick or somebody being around you while you're sick is a violation of that other person's rights. I don't understand how it can be, because it doesn't make sense, because you can't control it. It's not a control.
Yeah. And how like, just by the basis of how would you enforce that? Because
how would you enforce that?
why, if I don't know that I'm sick and I go and do whatever,
Yeah.
and like, does that mean I get prosecuted if
Yeah.
we're doing it? Like,
And I think
what is
people
this
are going to try and make this, you know, like they will make this argument, because righties were making this argument when California opened up, saying that people can't get in trouble for infecting people with HIV, even though they know that they're HIV positive. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, that's different. I honestly believe that's different. First, it's a consensual act that both are operating under a perceived like understanding of what each other are, what they're about to do, and that it's a little bit more what's the word I'm looking for? It's a little bit more, I mean, for obviously it's more intimate and requires a lot more work. But when you could literally walk by some, I think the difference is when I can't give you HIV by walking by you. I could literally give you, if I had COVID, you could literally give it to somebody basically by walking by them and breathing in the same air. Like I don't
Sure,
see
yeah.
how you can HIV, and I think unknowingly, like not knowing that you had HIV, that you were HIV positive, and then giving somebody, I think that's a little bit different. Knowingly having HIV and then not telling the other person and them contracting HIV, that's fucking manslaughter at the very minimum, in my opinion. Like, fuck.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Like the only way you could kind of prove it, I guess, would be like you would, if you know you have COVID and you're intentionally coughing or sneezing on someone, like intentionally.
Yeah.
And maybe then you have some sort of case there. But like there's just no way you could enforce something like this. There, like, our justice system's so and it's so crazy, dude. It's so crazy too, and it's so hypocritical how like the left will be the first ones to judge police and their how they conduct themselves, but then we'll turn around and they're okay. Like, it's like they're not against the police, they're just against the police enforcing laws that they don't like, or whatever, how they see it. But when they're enforcing their shit, they're perfectly okay with using the force of the state. Like, these people are just
absolutely
hypocrites. And there's I like, and that's, but I don't know, like I mean, I don't know, I think, and I also think like online might be a little deceiving, but like I don't really know people that I've ever talked to that was like necessarily for this stuff. They just always kind of defend it. Like they don't necessarily say like, oh, I'm for the mandates, but I understand because
they defer
grandma.
to it.
Yeah,
they just kind of
and they
defer
always,
to it.
yeah, and they always use like the dumbass talking points that have been blasted everywhere that they just repeat over and over, and like people just like, I don't know, they always like kind of just defend it, or they at least try to, oh yeah, but I kind of understand. But there's never anyone that I have met that's like, no, fucking lock this bitch down. You should be arresting people not wearing a mask. Like,
yeah, they just
like,
carry
that's
water
so
for it. Like, most people just barely carry the water for it, just enough that it's acceptable. And that's the problem, is like, I'm not carrying fucking water for shit anymore. Like, I'm not fucking doing that. And maybe at the beginning I probably said, I understand why they're doing lockdowns and things like that. I can get it. And now I'm just like, no, fuck you. I'm not doing it. I tell everybody, I'm like, outside of my job, and even with my job, I'm not wearing a mask. Somebody asks me if I'm vaccinated, I don't tell them. It's none of your business. It's exactly what I say. If they have a problem with that, then I leave. Especially when I'm off work and I walk into a store or something like that. Thankfully, we don't deal with it as much in Phoenix. There's some places that you do, but walk into a place and they ask me to mask, I'll just be like, do I have to? And if they say, no, we just recommend it, then I go on and, go about it. And if they say yes, or you're not allowed in, then I go and I'm like, all right, I'll take my business elsewhere. Like, that's just how it is now. And I think that's the way that it should be. Like, I'm not doing it anymore.
Is there a lot of places in Phoenix that enforce it?
No, not really. Not as much anymore. There's still a couple you'll find like a weird Fries or something like that that's enforcing it, or it's usually like the HR or fucking general manager of the store that's like, no, we're hitting on this hard because blah 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 blah. And it's like, I don't think there's really a mandate in effect anymore or anything else like that. And even if there was, I mean, shit, we didn't follow it almost everywhere we went when you were still here, and that was during the height of it and a little bit afterwards.
Yeah, here, I mean, here in my small area, it's like not at all, non-existent, besides like the schools, which is kind of the most craziest thing. But we went to the city last weekend, and I mean, this was like outside St. Louis, so like the suburb of St. Louis, and like in Illinois, there is a mask mandate, and like there was signs, and then all the employees at the restaurants and stores were, and like they were wearing masks, but we walked in with no mask, and like half the people in there do have masks and the other half don't, and there's no one really walking around enforcing it. So like even in, I guess, more city area, I guess blue state city area where it's like this is enforced, like I'm not even seeing, like I'm still, I see like half the population in the blue area that actually is wearing it.
And that's kind of that's also the weird part for me, is like it seems very half and half. Like there's people that are doing it, there's like almost half are doing it, and then the other half aren't. And it's like, do you guys see this? Do you see what's going on? You guys are shopping at the same place. But yeah, I bet you I think half these people are like, half the mass people are on Twitter saying these people need to be jailed. I can't believe that they're doing this. We need to use the military to force people to get vaccinated. And then, I know a lot of those people that don't wear masks now because they are vaccinated. Like they got their vaccine and they're like, I shouldn't have to wear a fucking mask. I got it specifically so I don't have to. And I know people at my work that did that. And I'm like, hey, you do you, man. Like, you guys know how I feel. All the techs know how I feel. My boss knows how I feel. The only people that probably don't are my HR and my general manager. But I'm just like, nah. Like there's managers that show up that are like super maskers. They show up to a job site or whatever, and I'm sitting there without a mask. They have their mask on and they're talking to me, but they don't say anything to me because it's just not an argument. First, that they're going to win. And second, I don't think they care enough at this point in time to continuously tell somebody to put their mask on, especially when the business that you're working on is like, no one's wearing a mask.
Yeah, dude, it's kind of like, the best way I think to put it is, it's kind of like when we were in the military and you were doing like there's like these, like the dumb rules that gets enforced in the military, the minor hands in pockets, stuff like that. Mouth. I think maybe hands in pockets might be the best one to say. Like there would be half the people that would never do it because either they want to follow the rules or because they were afraid of getting in trouble. And then there would be half the other group that doesn't give a shit. And I mean, that's probably where we were. And it's the same. I think it's kind of like the same thing where there's like half the population, I would say like a little bit of the population wants to follow the rules because they want to follow the rules. They feel like they need to do this. This is what we got to do. And then there's a little bit of the population too that's like, well, I just don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to be seen as that guy not following the rules, like that. But they're not scared of getting in trouble. They're just like, I don't want to be seen like in that way, I guess, because it's kind of like frowned upon, I guess. And then there's like the half of population that's like, nah, fuck this.
Dude, and that's what I think it's like that article you brought up. The article, did you bring it up or did somebody else share it? But it was the Army has the highest case of abuse, like child abuse or spouse abuse or something like that. And the Marine Corps has the highest anti-government sentiment.
Oh, no, what it was the Army had the most extremist racial
extremism. Yeah.
And then the USMC had the most anti-government issue or something like that.
I love it. I love it. And I think we were always a part of that group. It wasn't so much anti-government, but just like, this is stupid. Oh, when there's something stupid and it's clearly stupid, and everybody kind of knows it's fucking stupid, but people just follow it to follow it. Like, I cannot stand that. I don't understand it. And I have to question it. And if nobody gives me a good answer, I do it avidly just to piss people off. Like, it's probably not the best way to go through life. I've been told all my life, why are you making it harder on yourself? And then I'm like, well, why is it so stupid? I don't think it should be harder on me, because it's a dumb fucking rule. Like putting my hands in my pockets. It's fucking it's 20 degrees in the middle of the fucking desert with a -10 wind chill. Like, I'm fucking cold. I'm putting my goddamn hands in my pocket. And I was reaching for my cell phone. You got me in that 10 seconds where my hand was in my pocket. And it's just things like that. And you and I have always been in kind of that camp. And so I guess it makes sense that we ended up in this fucking libertarian la land of anarchy and wonderfulness. But
I think too, like I honestly, like, I'm not sure how good that data is about the fucking
it was shared by like Marine Corps Times, wasn't it?
Yeah, the Marine Corps Times. I think it was the Marine Corps Times that shared it, but they, like, it makes sense when you think about it. Like, the Marine Corps tries to control most of your life, like more aspects of your life than probably any other branch. And it's like things that blow everyone's mind. Like, even when you're talking to other Marines and you're like, yeah, my unit was trying to enforce this, and they're like, what? Really? Why? And you're like, I don't know, dude. I don't know. And so I think everyone goes to the military knowing that, like, I don't know,
half the shit is made up bullshit.
Yeah, it's just made up bullshit because of how someone felt or whatever. And just because they want it like that, you have to do it because that's your commander. And so when you get out of the military, and like the government's like, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. Like, I think a lot of Marines are like, but why? And then when there's no good answer, they're like, this is fucking bullshit, dude. And it's not that like I wouldn't even say necessarily that a lot of Marines are anti-government, but their instincts are like, this is bullshit. Like, they don't not like the Marine, like, we're not, you can't bullshit me anymore. You can't bullshit me anymore.
I've done my fair share of bullshit and you can't do it to me.
We're not the smartest, dude. We don't, but our gut instinct is we're being screwed over somehow. And don't get me wrong, there's been plenty of times too where like the Marine Corps enforces something and I would be like, well, that makes sense. And then, but there would still be people being like, no, this is bullshit, dude.
I was still that guy. I was like, no, it's still bullshit though. And the worst times of my life in the Marine Corps were I had to tell my guys to do something that I knew was bullshit. Like, I knew it was bullshit. And I was like, hey, we're about to do this. And once it got to that point, I had already tried my hardest, like I had already gotten in trouble for saying that this is bullshit to whoever was telling us to do it. And all the way up to the point where I legitimately would say this is bullshit and it makes no sense. And they were like, Corporal, you're going to do it. Sergeant, you're going to do it anyways. And I was like, well, and the worst times was going back to the people and being like to your Marines and just being like, well, we're about to do this. And you can see the look in their faces because they can smell the bullshit. And they're looking at you like, why would you let them do this?
Why would you do this to me, Sergeant?
I tried. All right. I know it's bullshit. And then I'd get in trouble for telling the Marines that what we're about to do is bullshit and that I don't agree with it, but we're going to do it anyways. And we're going to do it well, because if we're going to do something, you do it well. You know what I mean? And that's just the way I look at work and everything else. Like, if you're going to do it, even though it's fucking bullshit, you're going to do it correctly. And but it was never something that I was like, it would directly harm them personally. And so when it comes to things like how today is, like I said, we're not smart. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. The way things are today, it's like these are things that could directly harm them in future or immediately. One way or the other, it could impact their livelihoods or this, that, or the other. And I just won't do that to anybody. And thankfully, I'm not in the military that I would have to be put into that situation where they're basically telling me that I have to do it. And I just wouldn't, honestly. Like in that aspect, I would just be like, no, like you will have to separate me, or you will have to reprimand me. And I still won't do it even after you do that and take my pay or whatever, my rank, whatever you have to do. Like that's just, if I had people under me right now, thankfully I kind of like work for myself. Like I have a manager, but I'm kind of like off doing my own thing. But if I was a manager and I had people under me, I'd be like, I'll protect you as long as I can, but I'm going to get the can as like right before you guys do. So, you know, like that's what I would say. I'd be like, you guys do what you need to do. As long as you're doing your work, that's all that fucking matters. But people are in fucking cocoons and it fucking kills me. And this impending like foreshadowing of feeling of dread is just stuck in the pit of my stomach every single day.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it's possible. Like we could fucking, I mean, I don't, I don't know like what, like if all the states would lock down, but it's very possible that like my state or other blue states could go through a lockdown again. I mean, I know, you know, what's the new variant, Omicron or whatever the fuck it's called. Yeah. And, you know, Joe Biden said that like, oh, his words were, this is something to be concerned about, but not to panic.
Yeah.
And he said that they're not looking at lockdowns, but he put the caveat but if the American people get vaccinated. So, you know, there's a lot of ways you could look at that. Maybe he won't. Maybe he's threatening it to get more vaccines. I don't think it would help him. I don't think it would help the Democrats at all. Like, I think a lot of even Democrat people are kind of done with it too.
I think they are.
Yeah.
I think a lot of them are. Like,
that's my mentality, or people that I talk to, and like it's anecdotal, but they you know, I think they were all about it. They got their vaccine, but they're fucking done with this shit, dude.
Dude, I hate that we have to now say, all right, this is we're gonna take a turn on this podcast.
Oh no.
It bothers me to the core of my being that now when I bring up a personal story, my immediate reaction afterwards is I know it's anecdotal or before my story because of libertarians. First off, they're the fucking worst. I swear to God, when you bring up anything with a libertarian and it's a personal story about what you've experienced in your life, their first response is, well, that's just anecdotal evidence. And it's like, yeah, I'm gonna anecdotal my dick in your ass, bro. Like I don't fucking
well, it's because libertarians are the least empathetic, dude. They want data. They want fucking data.
I don't care. I will fucking rape your butthole. And it will be anecdotal evidence. I hate it. I hate that. I hate that I had to change the way I argue. And I'm not saying that I wasn't like maybe I've streamlined some of my arguments and tried to figure out. Another thing I hate. All right.
What else do you hate?
I make sweeping I make sweeping generalizations at the beginning of an argument. And I do that specifically for a purpose now. Where before I was very succinct and spoke directly, like made the argument that I was making. I do it now first to piss them off. I'm looking for two reactions, either a pissed off reaction. And then I know that the original statement that I'm arguing against wasn't made in good faith. And this probably isn't the best way to go about it, but it's fun for me. Or second, they're like, well, that's not entirely true, and then give an argument. And I'm like, oh, maybe they will argue in good faith. But the fact that I have to make sweeping generalizations, because I'm not a big fan of sweeping generalizations. I don't think it's the correct way to argue things. But the amount of people there are nowadays that only operate in sweeping generalizations for the most part, they will continue to make sweeping generalizations and not have can't get down to a specific subject. And fuck, dude, that shit annoys the fuck out of me, because when you look at, that's my problem with the whole anecdotal evidence thing, because they're like, well, the data says this, that, or the other. And it's like, yes, the data does say that, but that doesn't encompass everything. And I'm not saying that you have to encompass everything. I understand that you shouldn't make decisions based off of outliers. But when you're talking about a data set, not everything is an outlier. There's a mean and what things lean towards in that mean. But the mean is still an average of the things. And, you know, there's a lot on the other side of that mean. Like there's a lot on both sides that create that, what that mean is, what the average of that subject is. And to say that it points this way, it doesn't mean that just because it points that way, that's the only thing that you can take into account. That makes no sense to me. That makes zero sense to me. And I think it's because both of those things are intertwined with each other. They're like, that's anecdotal evidence as I make a sweeping generalization about the evidence that's not anecdotal. When all of those, when that evidence that's now centralized are all anecdotes that are centralized. So now it's not anecdotal evidence, which I get. Don't get me wrong. I understand the semantics of it, but I still think it's fucking idiotic because it comes from the same thing. And it's basically a libertarian thing, and the lefties have taken it over. It was a libertarian thing when we first got into this. Like a couple years ago when we first started finding out what libertarianism and anarchism is. But now it's like a giant lefty thing. Well, that's anecdotal evidence. Nobody cares about Mary Sue Lou.
Yeah.
That died of the vaccine at 13 days because she wasn't fully vaccinated.
Yeah.
Mike.
Yeah.
It's like, all right,
I get
fucking Susan G. Komen bitch.
Yeah, I get what
I'm
you're
going
saying.
to lop off your other titty, even though it doesn't have cancer.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, because like the reason if you look at like online or TV, you like you feel like this pandemic you definitely know it's overblown. But you don't, but it's hard to tell how overblown it is, because it's just, you don't really know. So like that's why I always like talk to people, and you know, people around here, like no one talks about the COVID necessarily. Like it's not like a fucking big topic around here. And I mean, sometimes people, you know, like maybe talk about the vaccine. That's what people more talk about, more or less, around here, is just the vaccine. They don't really talk about like, oh, the COVID, or they're scared of it or whatever. And I have to use that, like talking to people, because what I see on my screen is not fucking reality. It's just not what's really going on. So I always use like anecdotal evidence, because that's what grounds me in reality. I'm like, okay, well, this pandemic seems really scary, and oh my God, they're enforcing the mask mandate. But then you walk around and it's like half normal. Like I wouldn't say it's completely normal, but like generally speaking, most people are living like there's no COVID.
Yeah,
like
I mean, fuck, I live like there's no COVID. We still go out. I think we're going to a monster truck rally next week. Like,
yeah, dude,
like yeah. I don't give a shit about any of your COVID anything. Like I don't care. And it sounds bad, because then there's the people that, you know, like the basketball player that lost like half his family to COVID. And it's like, dude, that sucks. That's horrible. You don't want to hear that.
That's the anecdotal evidence, dude.
Yeah, exactly. I know. And it sucks, and that's horrible. And it's like, I understand, and you can empathize those things, and you should empathize with those things. It's like, man, I understand. But I'm going to continue to live my life. Like, I'm sorry. I know it's really hard for people. It is very hard for a lot of fucking people. But
yeah, like I don't know, like
not going to live in my apartment and never leave. Like that's idiotic. That's insane. I'm not going to wear this mask over my face for the rest of my life. That's wild. It's insane.
Well, it's like when 9/11 happened, and you know they pushing the war on terrorism, and people like there was fucking I don't know. There was like alerts being like, oh, there could be a possible terrorist attack here. And like they would raise the threat levels all the time. And
Yeah, it was
they were
constant.
they were scaring the shit out of people because like, we just got bombed, like our buildings in 9/11, they got attacked or whatever. So it's like, oh my God, like there could be instantly and that's what they push on TV. That's what they show. They scare the shit out of people. And it took a long time. But then after a while, most people didn't even like realize we were still in Afghanistan or Iraq. Like they were just like, oh yeah, like we're all going to live our normal lives, go back to normal. And the government just gets to do whatever it wants. And I think like that now, this is the next thing. They scare the shit out of people and they hold on to it for as long as they can. They make it seem like it's much, much worse than everything is. But like over half the population is kind of like back to normal. Just like, oh, okay, well, it's over now.
Yeah. Have you seen that meme going around where it's like some dude in Florida and he's like, I hope you guys know, like in Florida, this was 2 weeks to flatten the curve and we've been normal ever since. And it's like, yeah, like that's how it was. That's how it was. Dude, do you remember when it first happened and we started seeing places locked down and we were in our fucking house in Mesa and we were sitting there and it was just like, this could be kind of crazy. Jared's freaking out about fucking water all the time. Like maybe we need to go get cases of water. We need to go get cases of water. And then we like would randomly go out and get canned food every time we were at the store. And it was like, just in case. We had to leave and go somewhere.
Enough to get out of the city.
Enough to get out of the city, basically. And it was like, yeah, like I understood. Like, shit was getting crazy. And it was like right after the riots and stuff like that. And we were just like, oh shit's popping off. Like shit's popping off hard. And then they were like 2 weeks to flatten the curve, like basically a nationwide lockdown. And we were like, all right, we still have to work because our jobs don't work like that. And so I was working for a little bit, you were working for a little bit. And then it was like all within a week that we, all three of us, you, Nick and I, all three of us, like our jobs were like, yeah, we're done. We're not doing anything. You can't come back. You can't come back. You can't come back.
Well, mine was like the next day.
Yeah. But it was like all within that week. Like I think it was like all within that, like mine was on Thursday or something. They got me a fucking Uber from the office.
And because they wanted to keep the van. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, all right. And then Nick was like, yeah, I'm not working this weekend. All the clubs are shut down. And it was like, what the fuck? And so we didn't really stay inside, but there was nothing to do. And so we were just like, whatever. And then when we found things to do, we were like, yeah, let's go out. Like, I'm not staying in the house anymore. This is fucking hell.
And we golfed. We golfed a lot, dude.
Yeah. You and I went out and golfed a lot because they were open. And I was like, hell yeah. And then people would get mad at us for golfing. Like, I remember people being like, you really shouldn't go out and golf. And I'm like, I shouldn't go out into the sun, open air, and hang out with two other people. Yeah, you're fucking high.
And we were, and it was like, and it wasn't that bad because it was the summer for Arizona. Like, it wasn't
no
bad
one was
at
out
all.
there. It was just us.
Yeah.
And people still think that killed people. That killed people.
Well, we did. And I wear that as a badge of honor.
We did, but it had nothing to do with COVID.
It had nothing to do.
That's what's listed on their death certificate, but it had nothing to do with COVID.
Yeah. But
how many murders do you think there were that were the cause of death was COVID just because they wanted to inflate their numbers? Like imagine Chicago, like fucking Chirac. They're just like, well, like young black male dies of COVID and he has 7 gunshots in his stomach.
Yeah, from a Glock 19 because that's what the cops have.
Yeah, dude, and it's like I don't know.
No, we would have saw that on TV.
Somali woman in New York gets raped, dies of COVID, and it's like, no, they just slit her throat, and it was a serial killer that's been running around New York City for the last 6 months, and it's like, what?
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
Dies of COVID, like the whole fucking shit on.
And this wasn't that. But that wasn't just us, dude. Like I remember talking to people. I remember talking to people like during the lockdown when they did not have a job and they were living on unemployment. I remember talking, like I've talked to a couple people around here too, and they're like, "Yeah, we did that lockdown thing for like 2, maybe 3 weeks, and then it was like, man, I'm bored." And then there was like, "Oh yeah, there's house parties, and then the bars were open but weren't supposed to be open, but they were open. And then like I don't know, there was just I was like,
well, I remember
was
hearing
like,
about speakeasies here in Phoenix. Phoenix never had a speakeasy before in their entire fucking lives because it
Yeah.
barely existed during Prohibition. I think that's when, no, I think it was 1890 something that it got burnt down, and that's why it became Phoenix. It was something else before. But regardless, like during Prohibition, like it was the fucking West still. Like, you know, nobody fucking cared.
And this was like a Mormon state, so it might not even been that much alcohol in the first place.
Yeah, but like, you know, like there was never a speakeasy until fucking COVID created speakeasies, and that's when like the whole libertarian argument is so true. When that's kind of like my feeling now on the whole abortion thing, where it's like if the government mandates that you can't have an abortion, it's just gonna make things worse. It just makes things worse. It honestly does. Like there's people that make the argument the other way, and it's like, guess what? People are going to do it anyways. People are going to do it anyways. And you know, they can have their arguments one way or the other, but I think the government should be out of all personal involvement for everybody. Like, I just don't like, it doesn't make any sense, because every time they get involved in any of it, it just mucks it up and makes it worse. It does every single time.
Yeah, I don't really. Yeah, that's a good point. Like, cause like, you know, I don't really know where I lie on the argument, but I tend to be more pro-life, I guess. But the fact is, like, if the government's gonna have a hard time enforcing that, like, you know, there's gonna be people like using hangers and shit. Like,
yeah, and what are you gonna do? Throw them in fucking prison for the rest of their life? That's
yeah,
a great idea.
I don't know.
I showed them, like, okay. Like they're bleeding out internally now because they used a fucking coat hanger. And there's going to be plenty of libertarians that are like, good, they get what they deserved. And it's like, yeah, whatever, bro. Like, you're fucking cool. Very edgy statement. You're fucking winning the Pepe Award this year. And it's like everything else you argue, like everything else you argue against, because the government legitimately makes things worse and causes more damage than good. And you're going to argue that like that's going to make it better. And I mean, that's kind of like the whole argument with the homeless thing, where it's like there's literally 17 crackheads dying on my front porch every day. That's how everybody makes it sound. Dying on my front porch every day. We just need to send in the police. And it's like, all right, bro, like, where the fuck do you live? Like, maybe you should, get.
That's a hard one.
This is where you get the Matt Erickson, and it's like, make more fucking money and get out of that fucking area. Because if you're a libertarian, then you need to get out of that area. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's a hard one, dude. Because like, I mean, I don't know, dude. The government, like, I don't know what to do with fucking homeless people. They had them in Phoenix, but I feel like the heat keeps them away.
Yeah,
but
for the most part.
But like California, dude, they're like, I mean, it's insane. I don't even know what to do with that.
I understand. I understand people's arguments that are like, well, what do you expect us to do? And it's like, man, in situations like that, it's like living in a war-torn country at that point. You're gonna have to leave. Like, I'm sorry, like you have a few options. The police aren't going to save you. I'm just saying that right now. The police aren't going to save you because they're not incentivized to take all those homeless people out. Like, even if you call them on them, they're going to move them to a different area, and then you just made it somebody else's problem. And they'll probably end up back on your porch in fucking 6 weeks time, because they were like, well, I liked that porch and they took me from it, so I'll go back there. Like, you're not solving the problem with police. That it's not a problem that can be solved by police. If you're going to do it, then be ready for the ramifications of your actions. You know, first off, I mean, we just watched an Arizona man in a fucking roto scooter get fucking murdered. At like, what was he, 72 or 67 or some shit like that? I don't know. Numbers are hard. But, you know, he's fucking elderly man, gets shot in the back 9 times in a scooter going into Lowe's by a police officer. And it's like, wait,
that guy was a threat.
Yeah,
he was rolling quick, dude, going 1 mile an hour.
He was riding dirty, going into Lowe's. And the police felt threatened, and
Dude, did you see
he
shot him
deserved to die.
Did you see him shoot 8 times, pause, and then shoot him
one more?
again?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
Like, that was
well,
the
did
worst
you see
one.
the other cop? Like, because the first video I saw was from the other cop, the cop on the right, because it was the cop on the left that shot him. But I saw the first video I saw was the cop on the right, and I was like, oh, this cop's about to fucking murder him. And then I saw him like slump over the other way, and the bullets coming not from this guy's gun, and I was like, what the fuck just happened? And then I watched it again, and I was like, that guy he wasn't even like towards that guy. Like he was going 2.5 miles per hour into a fucking Lowe's, and he was shot towards the Lowe's. Like,
yeah, dude, I've seen kids run
Yeah.
faster, like fucking 5-year-olds run faster than how fast that guy was rolling, dude.
Yeah,
like,
dude, he was fucking
just grab his wheelchair and throw it, like knock it over his wheelchair, dude.
Yeah, push him on the ground. He's in a wheelchair. He's not gonna fucking move.
Yeah. Like
that's what I'm saying though. Like the cops aren't going to correct the problem that you're having with homeless people. I'm sorry, they're not. Stop going to that park.
Well, that wheelchair guy is not going to be a nuisance anymore.
Yeah, I guess. You know what? Fuck it. Genocide of homeless people. Call the cops in. Let's go.
Well,
Rothbard was right.
Did you see PETA put out that like this new human flesh jacket?
Yes.
Yeah, dude.
Wait, is it the flesh jacket or the I didn't see the human flesh jacket. I saw maybe it wasn't PETA, but did you see that you can grow your own human tissue to consume now? Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't remember what company is selling it, but you can grow your own human tissue, your own human meat, so you can eat it in a petri dish and cook it and eat it. That's going to be great for society. Like fucking science. Fuck yeah.
Why?
I don't know, dude. That's what I'm saying. I don't know.
Why was it created for you to eat? Why would you create it for you to eat? Like if they were like, oh, you can grow your own human tissue. So if you need a kidney transplant, like there you go.
Every day it's something new, Typo. Every day it's something new. And that's what I'm saying. There's this feeling in like Iraq won. Typo. Iraq. All right. Iraq won. Okay. So this is why I'm saying Iraq won. Iraq won because they, over the last 20 years, have kept their society intact. They're exactly the same they were 20 years ago. We have degraded so far. We didn't stunt them. They continued on their trajectory that they were like, we just got to outlast these dumb motherfuckers. They're going to tear themselves from the inside. Look at how they're gonna fuck themselves up. Iraq won, and it's because their ideology won out, basically. And our ideology is absolutely nothing. Our ideology now is consume human tissue that you can grow in a petri dish, and pedophiles are part of the alphabet rainbow club.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I saw that.
So,
CIA.
Yeah, but it's like, what do you? Who came out better after 20 years of war? Who came out more similar to themselves? And honestly, who came out better? I think Iraq probably came out better than the United States. Look at where we were at in 2000. My fucking math class would have been alt-right in 2000 compared to now. 2 + 2 = 4. Now that's alt-right.
Well, that is all right, dude. It's been racist, but
you know what I mean? Like it's so like we've fucked everything. Like everything is fucked, and like
like Osama bin Laden won, I would say. Like he like everything he wanted. Like
he got it.
His whole thing was to bait America into a war, so they would overspend ourselves. I don't even know if he predicted like basically the federal government would start eating its own citizens. Like they knew it was a hungry beast, and if he provoked them enough, he could get them to get them to expand themselves, expend all their resources into their country, And that part worked, but I don't even know. Like, it worked out better than he expected, because then we got, Gorio TSA, the NSA spying on us. Got
Alexandria
this
Cortez, Ilhan
Alexandria,
Omar.
all these people. Yeah, it's like, yeah. It's like this opposite stuff of what the George Bush administration was. Like, it was hated so much that it, like,
And it sped
the
it up.
radical
I
left.
honestly believe it sped it up. Like it was just like, oh,
Yeah.
let's go. Let's hit the fucking fast lane, boys.
Yeah.
Where are we dropping? We're dropping in fucking Crazyville. And let's get there as fast as possible.
Yeah. And now, like, with that terrible government that basically fucking blew those countries to pieces, now it's coming back on all of us. Like, and you hear, like, there's that that video you saw right before we started, like, that.
Yeah, let's talk about that. What's his name?
What's it? Kramer.
It's on Mad Money.
On, I think, NBC.
It was part of Mad Money on NBC, and I'll find it right now because you just sent it to me. All right, it's Kramer giving his thoughts on how to control it. Should I play the video? Should I play the sound?
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Knows what happened if he didn't partake. But back then, anyone who refused to get vaccinated would get ratted out immediately because we knew that person could hurt other people. The Commonweal was a Commonweal. Now we're engaged in a similar struggle with COVID, and Eisenhower would be again. People who are incubators for every variant to come, walking around lawfully unvaccinated? That's psychotic. We have companies that have tried hard to get people vaccinated and now backing down. We have governors who want to be president by grandstanding on a foolish states' right issue, the right to get sick and get other people sick. So it's time to admit that we have to go to war against COVID. Require vaccination universally. Have the military run it. If you don't want to get vaccinated, you better be ready to prove your conscientious objector status in court. And even then, you need to help in the war effort by staying home until we finally beat this thing.
Come have a productive effort.
Fucking wild, dude. His pause there in the middle where he goes retarded for a second and then just keeps going like that weirded me out. That was like, that literally looked, if you watch that video, the video's name is, hold on, I'll find the video's name real quick. If you watch that, it literally looks like a glitch. Like it, I've never seen something in real life look more like a glitch than that. It's Mad Money. The world is on high alert over the Omicron variant. Kramer's giving his thoughts on how to control it. But the guy literally like irritates and then continues talking like nothing happened.
Yeah. It was like a pause, or like he was like rebooting, processing. Like there was a buffering that happened for a quick second. It was really weird. It was very, very strange. Like, and he just brushes over it like it didn't happen. Like didn't say excuse me, or I don't know. That was really weird.
Super fucking weird. And like, let's talk about using the military to control the virus, like make people get vaccinated. That's what I want. That's why like I'm on Kramer's side on this one, because I think that is the most liberty position there is, because you know, because it will benefit us in the long run.
I want them
I want them to use the United States military to enforce COVID mandates, because then people will finally realize that it's wrong. Like Jesus fucking Christ. Like after all this now, but they've introduced it. Typo. And this is what I'm talking about. They've introduced it. It's not far from the realm of possibility of them actually trying it. Let's get the quarantines going. Let's open back up the concentration camps from the World War II for the Japanese
first.
Well,
Japanese first.
I mean, we'll probably be in one. We'll play in a baseball league. It'll be fine. Most people in the United States are very unathletic, so
that's one
maybe
thing.
we can get Kyrie Irving on our baseball team. It'd be pretty dope. Aaron Rodgers might be. He'd be our
that's
pitcher.
actually a good point, dude. They're, like all the dope people will be in the quarantine camp, dude.
The coolest people. I mean, and then we'd finally be on the same level as Kyrie Irving and Aaron Rodgers. You know, like it's a win-win for us no matter how you look at it.
And it seems like in Australia, it looks like they have their phones. So we could like record it.
We can still record our podcast.
We can do it. We had plenty of time for podcasting.
Yeah,
dude.
we may not be making all of our money will go to the fucking, MAP prison guard that fucking takes the children from the camp to have non-consensual sex in the background with Jeffrey Epstein's voice going over on constant repeat. But at least we get to build our clout from our podcast.
Yeah, dude, we could hang out, play some baseball. I feel like there's got to be like a PX there, dude. There's got to be like little.
There'd be some kind of commissary.
Yeah, dude. They can give us some
little
little allowance.
I can still get drunk. It's like being back in the military. A fucking concentration camp that's basically living on a Marine Corps like military base.
I mean, the military runs it, so
I mean, we probably know a few people. We probably know a few. We can get cigarettes from the guards.
There we go, dude. This doesn't sound that bad. What are we doing here?
I can do this. Let's speed this up.
Let's go.
Everybody take Kramer's lead. Let's go. Let's start this thing. I'll help you build it. I know a perfect place. There's a guy up in North Arizona. His name's Adam Kokesh. He's already got plenty of plans.
Yeah, he builds stuff like this all the time. Dude, you can get a contracting gig for Adam, dude.
I'm helping out my peoples right now.
Yeah, dude. That would be the most like capitalist thing, is just like, oh, you need concentration camps? I'll fucking build them for you. Oh no, I'm a libertarian, dude. I'm just getting paid, dog.
Dude, the market provides, bro. The market provides. Rothbard said it. Time preference. My time preference is money first.
Yes, and well, it was the only thing that like it's really weird too, because in that video, his like dialogue changes a little bit. Like after he calls it the war on COVID, and he's like, "You got to help the war effort," and using like old fucking World War II
like
phrases.
It was like the she can do it, where she's I don't remember her name. It was an actual person, but she's like lifting up her arm, like flexing her arm, helping the war effort in World War II. Like that's what it sounded like. It reverted back in. The United States hasn't left World War II. I'm just gonna say that now. Like we haven't. We glorify it to the maximum, and I think the better that's the same thing with FDR. You put out a tweet, and it was a little bit after my tweet about Abraham Lincoln, where I was like, growing up is thinking, being a child is thinking Abraham Lincoln was a hero, and growing up is realizing he got what he deserved. And you also put up a tweet that was similar, where it's like growing up is realizing your heroes are, or would you say
growing up, you're taught to praise a bunch of American heroes, but you find out later that a lot of them were really the villains.
Mm-hmm. And it's very true. And we're stuck in, I feel like, honestly, I kind of believe that most of the world is like, we got fucking, like once the nukes went, it's probably still in the air, and that's probably why shit is fucking crazy after that. We don't realize.
Dude, I think every country should have a nuke.
Yeah. Well, I just don't think that we realize like what that would do to people's psyche. We just got stuck in 1945. Like, yeah, there's been technological revolutions and things like that since 1945, but like it's constantly World War all the time, and we're coming up with, there's been nothing new. There has been nothing new since World War II besides the avenues of information. Like that's it. That's the only thing that's really new. Don't get me wrong, technology has grown. I get that. You can make that argument, but mindset wise, there has been nothing new since World War II. And we're remaking movies constantly. I've seen like 17 total recalls. We got fucking Terminator coming back out. multiple times with different iterations of it, with the same people coming back into it and coming out of it and coming back into it. Like Star Wars is fucking garbage. Obviously that was way after the first one was way after, but like we can't reinvent this anymore. Like there's nothing to continue. It was like nuke bomb. We're probably all dead, and the machines took over. We're stuck and we're plugged in to our little warm cocoons, and we just think we're living a life. Like at this point.
Yeah, and like our time preferences.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And our time preference has accelerated because, like, like the consumer market, like you got to spin, and like the devaluation of the American dollar, and it's happening quicker, and because they're printing more money.
Well, and it started then, and we thought it was a good idea.
Well, yeah, I mean, like World War II and World War I are like you kind of got to look at them like they're together, because a lot of the policies that came from World War I and the things that we did to Germany in World War I caused to World War II.
Yeah,
and like FDR, dude, it's all FDR, or is it Wilson? It's Wilson's fault. Woodrow Wilson, dude.
We're on Wilson's. What is it like? 17th term. I don't know how many presidents between Wilson and Biden.
Yeah, dude, it's true.
That math is hard. I'll look it up.
Once the Federal Reserve, man, once they took control, and then what they could do, and then all this shady shit that they do behind the scenes, like they had to create this massive propaganda machine.
17. I was right on the fucking money. Damn, Wilson was the 28th president. 45 minus 28. Goddamn 47.
Well, isn't it 46 now?
Oh shit. 18. Still can't math.
We're still Trump ain't your president anymore, dude. That's all.
I forgot he was 40
now.
I forgot he was. What was he? Wait, what'd you say? What did
he was 45.
All right, so
and the
we're
only
at
reason
46.
And the only reason I know that is because people would be like, yeah, 45, baby, and like cheer for 45. Like,
I think that's why
like
it was stuck in my head. I was close. Because it was set. So he was 18 presidencies of Woodrow Wilson, basically. Just exponentially spending fucking money like it's cool.
Yeah, dude. And we're all going to be in the metaverse soon, dude. Maybe the metaverse.
Dude, I can't wait to kill myself in the metaverse.
Well, if you kill yourself in the metaverse, do you kill yourself in real life? That's the question, dude.
I think that's the answer.
Dude, we're gonna do we have to have barbecue sauce on our shelves if we're in the metaverse?
You don't? I thought that's like a staple. I can't reach it. I got barbecue sauce right here.
Yeah, dude. I
wish it was on my
humans
bookshelf
do.
behind me.
That's what all the regular humans do, dude.
Yeah, dude. I don't know. Like shit is fucking wild. And we're on like we always say every president's John McCain, or no, every president's fucking George Bush, right? Is that what the thing is? And then I heard the other day that it's all just been Bill Clinton's fucking presidency constantly. I think Bird said it. Now I think we're just Woodrow Wilson's 18th term. Like that's where we're at.
Like they're different
in life.
It's like they're different personalities. Like that's really what the American people vote for.
Yeah.
It's just a different personality. Like we're just voting for who, we think a lot of us are gonna like for the next 4 years. And then a lot of people get tired and they're like, oh, this dude sucks.
Well, yeah.
Let's get rid of this dude.
I can't stand most people for like 10 minutes. Like 4 years, that's a long time to see somebody on TV constantly.
Yeah.
That's why shows break. Dude. That's why shows break halfway through. Like that's, they do 10 episodes and they got 10 weeks. And then you're like, all right, thank God that's over. Like you're like excited for the next season because you don't think you got enough. And then, and then a year later you get 10 weeks with those characters again. And it's like dealing with your family, it's good to see them on holidays. It's great to see them on holidays. You're excited, but day 4, about ready to kill some of them, and you kind of understand some of the people that do.
Yeah, dude. You're like, Yeah.
But now
There's a few-
we got the metaverse coming out, and you know that's going to take over. Now I don't have to go to Thanksgiving or Christmas. I can just show up in the metaverse.
Yeah, dude, I'm gonna be hanging out in the red light metaverse. Be like, yo,
yeah,
you can have anything there, dude.
Yo, if we can do the Camp Hansen metaverse, I'd probably do that a couple nights a week.
Just well, you'd have to you after like, you know, a couple hours, you'd be like, yeah, that I'm good.
I just want some metaverse Camp Hansen or Kintown taco rice and cheese, you know.
Yeah.
So I can watch my metaverse being devour taco rice and cheese.
Yeah, dude. I
Sounds
mean, that,
dope.
like,
I'd pay
did some pretty
5,000
good-
yen for that.
yeah, dude. I mean, that
Some
I forgot
yenjinens.
that one dude basically wanted to go back in the Matrix because he liked how the food tastes. He was like, it tastes real enough
Yeah.
for me. I'm going like, this steak, I don't get this. I get like slop in the real world, dude. And like part of me is like, damn, dude, you got
I
steak.
don't blame him. I don't blame him. And that's the thing, like, you know, with saying all this, like, it's like I understand. I can understand everybody. I think the worst part about being me is I can understand people. I can understand what everybody's going through. I get it. I've been through both sides of the fucking spectrum. Been through the left, I've been through the right, and I fucking get it. I get it. I know the arguments before they're sent to me. Like, I know them because I can make the same arguments. And what I've realized is that there's arguments that are correct and there's arguments that aren't. And that's how I ended up being an anarchist. I've been through the right. I've understood, you know, how bad racism is in America. I get it. I've watched people just get fucking slammed by police for no reason at all other than the color of their skin. And then I've also watched regular ass white dudes get jumped for being white by any other color under the book and say that they're horrible people, even though they're not. Like, I've watched both sides and constantly, and the only side that I can see that is, and it's what I go back to. It hasn't been a race thing for a while. It's been a class thing. And the reason why race is a thing, and honestly, the thing that's thrown in your faces the most is because it's such an emotional response constantly because of the horrible things that have happened in this country's history. Like, it's not an excuse for what they've done, but is because it's a class thing. There's people at the top that don't want people at the bottom getting up there, and they will do everything they can possible to try and keep it that way.
Yeah, and they almost like, I mean, the race thing, they feed off that stuff because if, you know, we're down here fighting each other over whatever bullshit, they can continue to, like, they just drop these little tokens like, oh, they do. I mean, the left and the right do this. They drop these little tokens like, yeah, I'm gonna, you vote for me, I'm gonna do this and that, and then he does like 10% maybe of what they ran on, and then they're really just making shady deals behind our backs and for campaign funds, and then we're pissed off, like either side pissed off because we're not getting out what we want
5.5 years later.
Yeah, and we're getting pissed off because like, well, we voted for this person to give us what we wanted, and they're not going through. And then there's a lot of people that buy into their excuses like, oh, they would have, but the Democrats, and oh, they would have, but the Republicans, and
it's
they
so
put
easy
on
to
this
blame it on something else.
And then they use that division to be like, well, and then that's why, like, things are so hyper political right now because there's like the Democrats look at the voting base for Republicans as the bad guys. And then the Republican people look at the voting base for the Democrats as the bad guy, when really we're all being fucked constantly.
And that's that's why it's like I think that's why the military is the perfect example for most people. Like, it's just the easiest example to show, like, hey, Lance Corporal Schmuckatelli fucked up, so you guys all have to police call the motor pool. And it's like, Lance Corporal Schmuckatelli fucked up. Why do I have to do it? And it's, and then everybody's just pissed off. And then everybody gets at each other's throats because some people are like, nah, this is stupid, I'm not going to do it. And then other people are
Yeah.
like, I just follow the rules, so I'm going to do it. And then there's other people that are like, stop following the fucking rules. If you stop following the rules, they have no power over you anymore. And that's kind of where I feel like I'm at. And I feel like I've been there for so fucking long, where it's like, just stop doing it. Just stop. And then you
Yeah.
won't have to worry about it anymore.
Yeah, the military is definitely like in small, because they, the Marine Corps has that small unit leadership, and these 6 Marines didn't do their annual training on time, so we're gonna go for a stupid ass PT run. And then
Yeah.
instead of you actually being pissed off at the person that's putting you through the bullshit, you're gonna be pissed off at who they told you it's their fault. They're the ones that made me do this. I don't want to do this. I just have to because these people
did
screwed
something
up.
wrong.
And that works, dude. I remember being mad at people in our unit for, because we're doing, actually boot camp would probably be the best one
Yeah.
for that.
It's
because
like it's the best like control group ever for what the United States is. It's the best control group ever. Like boot camps all across the fucking United States, whether it's Navy boot camp, Marine Corps boot camp, all of them. It's the best control. And that's why like everything, it comes full circle. The military is full circle in life because everything can lead back to it. And the control group of it, like, how do you feel about gay people being in your platoon? Nobody gives a shit. All right, don't ask, don't tell is repealed. Like, it's like most people don't give a shit. And it's easy to continue like using it as a venue to test things out. And that's why they have forever. First, because you get rid of your rights doing it to join. You get rid of a shit ton of fucking rights to speak out, to bodily autonomy in a lot of aspects, to do multiple things. And you're okay with that because you think you're serving a higher purpose. And so they're getting people that think they're serving a higher purpose and that will sacrifice a lot to serve that higher purpose. And then they can put them under extraneous circumstances constantly and consistently and see how they react, because it's legitimately a melting pot of people. There's so many different types of people, from different religions to different colors to different sexes, everything. Like, yeah, I get that there's predominance in those fields, but at the same time, it's a very almost a well representation of the United States. And then they get to put them through these extenuating circumstances continuously. And after that, see how they react. And then I'm pretty sure if you look at some of the things that have been done in the military, you can see echoes of it in politics years later down the road. And I bet you, I haven't looked into it, so I'm not going to say as a definite fact, but I bet you could find it easily.
Yeah, well, it's the perfect, like everyone, most people, a lot of people just don't encounter the government. The government's kind of like it's unforeseen, and all the stuff that they do to you, it's not always direct. Like, you don't have direct contact, like in your face government. And then so like when we were in the boot camp and stuff, we had the direct in your face representation of their policies that they enforce, someone enforcing us. And then when you just like take away the person that's doing it in your face, it's the same thing. Like, it's all the shady stuff they do. And it's why they do it like that. Like, if they figured out in the military the best way to break someone mentally and get them to control you, what if they just figured the same thing out, but on a higher level? And it's like, oh, the government operates on like pretty much in one way, like all the time. It's just the same shit regurgitated. And we figured out in this close scored group, we can make these people go against each other, but do everything that we want instantly,
and then make them blame somebody else.
And then, and if something goes wrong, you can just blame each other, and then to further your control, to get half the people in the group to get angry and possibly even use violence on the other group that's not obeying, to get them to get back in line. It's the same tactics, just on a much, much bigger scale.
Yeah. And it's so wild to be a part of that organization and then like realize that afterwards.
Yeah, dude, because you start
Right?
it's because shit don't change and the government operates in like a few different ways. Like it's bullshit. You don't really know what you're doing. There's no logic or really true reasoning to a lot of shit that they're doing, and but they're good at dividing you. And then
Yeah.
I think I mean, we talk about it all the time, but that's one thing that was just weird and different that was in our unit 9th ESB, because I think there was already this rebellion, like already kind of there.
Mhm.
And we kind of just came into this rebellious culture of like, oh, we kind of figure out like it's not like we're section and section. We're like we're the lower enlisted versus everyone else. And we kind of
Yeah.
like, as a culture that was somehow built in our company, that was just how it kind of was. Like everyone recognized, no, it's not each other. It's not even
Yeah.
like your corporal. It's not your corporal. It's not your sergeant. It's the people up at the top that are
Yeah.
fucking making this a living hell.
It was like you realized where there was like somebody that realized where the incompetence took place. And then they were like, nah, like, let's not do it because that's where the incompetence lies. So let's say fuck their incompetence and let's do it the correct way. And then it just continued. And I don't know if I bet you it's gone now. I bet you it's not like that anymore. It might be. Maybe we did enough.
I have no idea.
But I bet you it cycles where I bet you in a lot of places it cycles where
it probably
comes in.
cycles. You get the right people. Maybe you do get a few good like leaderships in there that kind of encourage that kind of thinking and stuff like that. But I mean, it was always weird when it's weird too, because when we have like kind of like an established team almost like it's like an unspoken team, and then someone that came from like the States got transferred to our unit, and they were like traditional Marine Corps, like, you fucking gotta listen to me because I'm a corporal, whatever. And then you have to like break them, like in a way, not like
you try to figure out ways to like make them realize to see the light.
Yeah, well, a lot of times by the time we were like that was happening to us, like we were already NCOs, and we'd just be like, bro, we don't do that here, dude.
Yeah. Chill out, man.
We don't do that, dude. Like, what are you doing right now?
Dude.
You're getting yeah. That was such a fucking thing when that video went viral, dude. Everyone's like,
I just remember Andrew, bro, because he looked like that guy and he just had short hair.
Did.
He was like, I saw, dude.
I just remember that. Oh, that was like the sign, like, oh, this dude's a G.
This guy's cool. This corporal's cool. It was like, saw, dude?
But
and they'd be like,
kind of
saw, dude.
But that's kind of like the answer. Like, I don't know. I don't really think the answer is going to be through politics in any way. It's like, that's what we have to do, but on a larger scale, is build that culture, build that, like,
it's
these
always
people
community. Are like, it always goes back to community.
You got to either find it, can you maybe start to create it yourself? Like, I don't know, like there's a couple of different ways you can move to it, pre-state project, if that's what you're into, or move to a smaller community like some people are suggest. I mean, I think it's obviously it's a lot harder to do things like that in like a bigger city, but it's probably doable.
But like, it's kind of like how we've done it. Like, my girlfriend didn't think about these things before, like, ever.
Sure.
And then having to deal with you, me, and Nick constantly on a daily basis. She's fucking, kind of political in some aspects. And I'm like, I mean, it's good. Like, I'm glad. And our friends, fucking our Canadian friends, we have them saying fuck communism constantly, like at random events.
Well, that's the thing, is like, I don't know.
You can build communities, and just by being right a few times.
Yeah, and like exactly, like that's kind of how we did, like, our group in Arizona. I mean, like we said, dude, there was so many vastly different political thinkings that was in our group, but like at the same time, they had like it wasn't even like we had that big of a group, like a large group in Arizona, but it was like we had a few friends that were like friends here and there and friends in the right places that were like, yeah, we don't do this shit, dude. And people, like, when lockdown and shit was happening and everyone's on social media, and then riots were happening and January 6th happened, like our friends in our circle like came to us asking like, yo, what is this shit, dude?
What
and
is
I'm like,
happening? What do you guys think about it?
Yeah, well, because it would be weird too, because you'd be like, yeah, they're rioting. They're straight up burning cities to the ground, and people, it's not that bad. You're like, no, this is this is
Let
pretty
me show
bad,
you some
dude.
videos. I saw
Yeah, let me
this.
show
Here you go.
and then they would be like, the January 6th thing is like, why are you guys so cheery?
We're just walking around fucking yippee kippy about it.
Yeah, we were like, do you see that, dude? Like, and now we had to like, but then people would be like, some people would be like, oh my God, that was crazy. They were trying to, destroy the Capitol,
And
whatever.
we were like, well,
okay.
they were kind of pussies about it.
I was like, it's like, let's calm down a little bit. It was more of like a college party that got a little out of control. Like that's about
a college party for boomers. Like we were like, they were all the average age was 65 on retirement using Social Security and white. Like let's be honest about January 6th.
Yeah, dude, we had more rowdy people at the festival that happened a couple of weeks ago here in fucking my small town. Like let's calm down. Like come on now.
It wasn't that crazy.
But it was just funny. And I don't know, but like you're right, man. It's like just talking to people, and like, I mean, it's not even that we lead into it like, oh, we're political as fuck. Like whatever we're doing, if we're throwing axes, we would just talk to people, get to know them, and then when the subject would come up of like, oh, are you gonna get this fucking vaccine, man? I'm kind of scared of the virus, and we'd be like, no.
And then make jokes about it. Like honestly, I honestly believe that comedy is the way through a lot of things, because it takes people's guard down, where they don't have to. You can make things funny and like enjoyable, even though they don't agree with your opinion. You can just be like, no, I'm not getting that fucking shit. Like I'm not getting them. And instead of being serious about them, like implanting chips into you, which there's going to be people that are serious about that, which is, I honestly don't believe that's what's happening. But, being like, I'm not going to get a fucking microchip installed in me, you fucking weirdo. Like joking around about things like that, joking around about the extreme, and then bringing it back and leading it into why you're not getting it in the first place.
Yeah, like and I don't know, just be honest. Like that's,
and like just being honest about it, being like, yo, I just don't agree.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's plenty of people we ran into that think we're retarded, autistic Marines and conspiracy theorists and whatever, and then that's fine. But we wouldn't lead with we wouldn't lead with that shit. We wouldn't. Yeah. I'm not walking up to people and being like, after like 5 minutes of having drinks together, and I'm like, all right, so the CIA, you know what they do, right? Like I usually I just let them bring up, like, it's usually when they start talking about, I'll talk about sports with these motherfuckers. I'll talk about your bad day at work. I'll talk to you about going to the gym, but I'm also just a social person, and I like to talk to people about stuff like that. And
I just like talking, to be honest.
Yeah,
just probably why we do a podcast.
Exactly. I like the attention. Okay, I like the attention.
People think I'm smart when I start speaking until I speak too much, and then I can't say fucking words like colonoscopy. I figured it out, guys. Don't worry.
And I don't know. That's kind of that's what I try to do wherever I'm at. Just kind of go out there and just fucking talk to people, man. Like, and you'll be surprised. Like, it's just so surprised. Like someone that, you start talking about politics, and they're like, oh, I voted for Joe Biden. And you're like, yeah, okay, whatever. And then all of a sudden they're like, but this COVID thing's bullshit. And you're like, whoa, all right. Like, like I'll jump on board, dude. And I don't know. It's it's easier than people think sometimes. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to like
way forward.
Yeah. And I think, a lot of people, I'm not saying we're going to change the whole culture. I'm not saying I'm going to build a massive culture that's going to fucking withstand all this bullshit, but you got to start somewhere. And if shit does get worse, which it is possible, you just want to know who the people out there that you can look to and be like, hey man, are you all right? You doing okay? And you need food, you need water. Like, hey, yeah, I do need some water. We are getting kind of low. Just small shit like that can go a fucking mile.
Yeah. And people look to you. And I mean, shit, how many people have told us if anything ever happens, like zombie apocalypse or, you know, fucking mass rioting in cities, they're like, we're going to go find you guys. And it's like, and I'm like,
no.
don't do that. Don't do that
No,
because like, I'm not even prepared. So
yeah, it's like, don't come to my place. You're gonna show up disappointed, dude. I'll be in Crocs, being like, "What are you doing here?"
Crocs and boxers, sitting there with a beer, like, I'm just here to watch the world burn. And they're like, I thought you were going to like, you know, go out
Have
and
a
protect
plan.
us. Like, no, dude, like we don't fucking plan.
I'm protecting me and my family, dog.
If that, I'm protecting like me and my dog and my girlfriend. Like that's about it. That's all I got. Like, I'm not driving anywhere. Like I'm driving to a spot that I can camp for a while.
Yeah, but that's it. It's really not that hard to like just level with people on, and don't get all autistic on them. Like that's one thing, you know, I've learned from my mistakes. Sometimes I've gotten a little like autistic, being like, no.
You usually don't remember when you start getting autistic on people, but too drunk.
Well, exactly, dude. You start going back, like you have to follow the nap, and it's like, okay, but like half the people don't even know what the fuck that means.
They're like, why do I need to take a nap, bro? Like it's fucking 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah,
but
you just gotta level.
Yeah. Community is the way forward, and that's the only way you're going to build anything that's worth fucking anything in this life, to be honest, especially with the way shit's going now.
Yeah, you want to find some, and fuck, dude, even if say it fails, say you're trying to reach out, building a community, and the government goes all tyrannical, shit hits the fan, well, at least you got some cool homies to go to the gulags with.
Yeah. Fucking Kyrie Irving and Aaron Rodgers playing baseball.
Dude, I'd lose my mind if I was in quarantine with them. I feel like they wouldn't go there. I feel like they'd like stay in their mansion, dude. I feel like
they'd sell out. They'd sell out and be like, "Oh yeah, get the vaccine," just so they could stay in their mansion.
Or try to do what Antonio Brown did.
Who isn't trying to do what Antonio Brown's doing right now? If you're not, you're wrong.
Yeah, right.
But I think that's a good place to end it. Go check out our shit on bitingthebulletpod.com. Go find me at Keep It Real Luke on Twitter, Keep It Real Luke on Instagram, and our podcast page on Instagram because it's fucking lit. And somehow we still haven't gotten banned, even though for a second,
we're not we're definitely not
shadow banned anymore or anything. Probably about the beginning of the last month. I thought definitely we were by the end of the month we were gonna get nuked. But go follow that shit. Biting the Bullet podcast on Instagram. So go follow that shit, Typo.
At the Real Typo on Twitter and Axoring Typo on Instagram. That's all I got.
Yeah, that's fucking shit show. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll be back next week. We out.